The neon lights of New York City blurred as Captain Marcus Reynolds adjusted the scope of his rifle. "You ready, Vasquez?" he asked, glancing at his spotter, Elena Vasquez, who nodded in response. "Locked and loaded, Captain," she replied, eyes fixed on the target. As they settled into position atop a skyscraper, a low rumble filled the air. Marcus frowned, scanning the horizon. What he saw sent a chill down his spine. Alien ships, sleek and ominous, descended from the heavens, casting dark shadows over the city. "What the hell?" Marcus muttered, his voice barely a whisper. Elena's grip tightened on her rifle. "Are those aliens?" she asked, disbelief etched across her face. Marcus swallowed hard, his mind racing. "Looks like we're about to find out," he said, eyes narrowing as the ships drew closer. A burst of static crackled over their comms, followed by a frantic voice. "This is Command. We have multiple bogies inbound. I repeat, multiple bogies inbound. All units, prepare for engagement." Marcus exchanged a grim look with Elena before turning his attention back to the approaching ships. "We've got work to do," he said, voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Elena nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. "Let's show these aliens what humanity's made of." With that, they settled into their positions, rifles at the ready, as the first shots of an interstellar war rang out across the city skyline. The alien ships loomed closer, their sleek forms contrasting starkly against the backdrop of the night sky. Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline as he adjusted his grip on the rifle, his training kicking in. "Stay sharp," he muttered to Elena, his voice low but urgent. Elena nodded, her eyes never leaving the approaching vessels. "I've got your back, Captain," she replied, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. As the first of the alien ships entered their firing range, Marcus took a deep breath, his finger poised on the trigger. "Steady now," he whispered to himself, his heart pounding in his chest. With practiced precision, he lined up his shot, focusing on a vulnerable spot on the alien craft's hull. Time seemed to slow as he squeezed the trigger, the sound of the gunshot echoing through the night. The alien ship shuddered as the bullet found its mark, a plume of smoke rising from the damaged hull. Marcus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before turning his attention to the next target. "Nice shot, Captain," Elena said, a hint of admiration in her voice as she took aim herself. Together, they unleashed a volley of gunfire, their shots finding their marks with deadly accuracy. The alien ships faltered under the onslaught, their advance slowing to a crawl. But just as victory seemed within reach, a sudden explosion rocked the rooftop, sending Marcus and Elena sprawling. Marcus shook his head, his ears ringing from the blast. "What the hell was that?" he muttered, struggling to his feet. Elena grimaced, a trickle of blood running down her cheek from a gash on her forehead. "I don't know, but we've got company," she said, nodding towards the stairwell where a group of alien soldiers was emerging. Marcus clenched his jaw, his grip tightening on his rifle. "Then let's give them a warm welcome," he said, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. With a roar, he charged towards the enemy, Elena hot on his heels. As gunfire erupted around them, Marcus knew that the battle for humanity's survival had only just begun. The aftermath of the alien assault left governments reeling, scrambling to formulate a response. Marcus found himself at the forefront of discussions, his military experience and strategic acumen making him a natural leader in this crisis. "We can't afford to wait," Marcus emphasized during a tense meeting with military brass. "Every moment we hesitate, the aliens gain ground." General Ramirez nodded in agreement, his expression grave. "We need to act decisively and with unity. This is a threat unlike any we've faced before." Marcus glanced around the room, taking in the faces of his fellow officers. "We need to coordinate with other nations," he said firmly. "No single country can face this threat alone." In the days that followed, Marcus worked tirelessly to forge an international alliance, reaching out to military leaders from every corner of the globe. From the frozen tundras of Russia to the sweltering deserts of Africa, he sought out the best and brightest minds in the military world. "It's time to show these aliens what humanity is made of," Marcus declared to his assembled team of military leaders. "They may have caught us off guard this time, but we won't let them have the upper hand again." As they prepared for their first joint operation, Marcus felt a sense of grim determination settle over him. This was it. The moment they had all been preparing for. The moment when they would face down an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered. "We're in this together," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the weight of the task ahead. "And together, we will prevail." His words were met with nods of agreement from the assembled leaders, their faces set in expressions of resolve. They knew the challenges that lay ahead would be daunting, but they also knew that they had no choice but to succeed. With their plans in motion and their forces mobilized, Marcus and his international allies prepared to face the alien threat head-on. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. With the alliance forged and the mission set, Marcus focused on preparing his team of elite snipers for the daunting task ahead. Each member brought their own unique skills and experiences to the table, but Marcus knew that to succeed, they would need to operate as a cohesive unit. "Welcome to the team, everyone," Marcus began, addressing the assembled snipers from around the world. "We're facing an enemy unlike any we've encountered before, but I have every confidence that together we can overcome this threat." The training regimen was intense, pushing each sniper to their limits both physically and mentally. From marksmanship drills to simulated combat scenarios, Marcus left no stone unturned in his quest to mold them into the ultimate fighting force. Elena Vasquez, a sharpshooter with a troubled past, proved herself to be a natural leader among the group. Her calm demeanor and quick thinking under pressure made her a valuable asset, and Marcus found himself relying on her more and more as the training progressed. Cheng Wei, a stoic marksman from China, impressed Marcus with his unwavering focus and precision. Despite the language barrier, Cheng's actions spoke louder than words, earning him the respect of his fellow snipers and Marcus alike. As the weeks passed, Marcus watched with pride as his team grew stronger and more cohesive with each passing day. They had become more than just colleagues. They were a family, bound together by a shared sense of purpose and camaraderie. But as the training neared its end and the mission drew closer, Marcus knew that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and failure was not an option. "Remember why we're here," Marcus reminded his team as they prepared for their final simulation. "We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for the future of our planet, and together we will emerge victorious." With that, they set out to face their greatest test yet, ready to prove to the world that humanity would not go down without a fight. The morning air was tense with anticipation as Captain Marcus Reynolds briefed his team of elite snipers on the upcoming mission. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the war room's computers and the distant rumble of artillery. The team was gathered around a holographic map, displaying the layout of the alien stronghold situated deep within the rocky terrains of the Nevada desert. "Today, we take the fight to them," Marcus began, his voice steady and commanding. "Our target is the command center located here." He pointed to a heavily fortified structure on the map. "Intelligence reports suggest it's lightly guarded at dawn. That's our window." Elena Vasquez, the team's second in command, leaned forward. "What's our insertion point?" she asked, tracing potential routes with her finger. "Here," Marcus tapped a remote ridge. 2 miles north of the target. It's outside their primary security perimeter, but it'll give us a good vantage point." The team listened intently as Marcus outlined the approach. Stealth was crucial. The rugged landscape provided ample cover, allowing them to close in undetected. "We'll move out at 0300 hours, Marcus continued. "Chung, I want you and Jensen to set up overwatch here." He pointed to a cliff overlooking the alien base. "Keep us covered." Cheng Wei nodded, his expression unreadable as usual. Beside him, Jensen, a former Marine sharpshooter, checked his rifle with practiced hands. "Vasquez, you're with me," Marcus said. "We infiltrate the base, plant the charges, and exfil before they know what hit them." The team spent the next few hours poring over every detail of the mission. They checked their gear, loaded high-impact ammunition, and synced their communication devices. Tension was high, but so was morale. They were the best of the best, chosen for this mission for their unparalleled skills and unyielding courage. As night fell, the team set out, navigating the rough, moonlit terrain in silence. Every step was calculated, every breath measured. Marcus led the way, his senses heightened to every rustle and whisper of the desert wind. Hours later, they reached their insertion point. The alien stronghold loomed in the distance, its walls bathed in the eerie glow of otherworldly lights. Chung and Jensen set up their position on the cliff, while Marcus and Elena advanced towards the base. The silence was suffocating as they approached the outer walls. Marcus signaled to Elena, and together they climbed the guard tower, neutralizing the lone sentry with a silent takedown. Once inside, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors towards the command center. Their movements were ghost-like, barely disturbing the air around them. Reaching the command center, they encountered 2 alien guards. Without hesitation, Marcus and Elena engaged. The firefight was brief but intense, their sniper training evident as they took down their targets with lethal precision. With the guards dispatched, they planted the explosives. "Charges set," Elena whispered into her comms, her voice barely audible. "Copy that." Cheng's voice crackled in their earpieces. "You have multiple hostiles inbound. Time to leave." Heart pounding, Marcus and Elena retraced their steps, the base now buzzing with alarms. They ran, dodging incoming fire, explosions shaking the ground as they sprinted towards the extraction point. Chung and Jensen provided cover, their sniper rifles barking death from above as Marcus and Elena made their final dash for freedom. The explosion that followed was monumental, a fiery blossom that lit up the dawn sky. The alien command center was reduced to rubble, a testament to the precision and bravery of the human snipers. As they regrouped at the extraction point, Marcus looked over his team, their faces smeared with dust and sweat, but alive with the thrill of victory. "We did it," he said, allowing himself a small smile. "Let's get home." The lunar landscape stretched out before them, a desolate expanse illuminated only by the faint glow of Earth on the horizon. Marcus and his team had arrived at the aliens' lunar stronghold, ready to strike at the heart of the enemy's operations. Their approach had been undetected thus far, but as they neared the base, they knew that the real battle was about to begin. With a silent nod, Marcus signaled to his team to prepare for engagement. The first shots rang out, echoing through the air as enemy forces descended upon them with ferocious intensity. Marcus and his team fought back with equal fervor, their weapons blazing as they sought to gain a foothold in the enemy's defenses. The battle raged on, each moment more intense than the last, as Marcus and his team fought tooth and nail against the alien invaders. But despite their best efforts, the enemy seemed to have an endless supply of reinforcements, pushing them back at every turn. With the odds stacked against them, Marcus knew that they would need to rely on more than just firepower if they were to emerge victorious. Drawing on their training and expertise, they employed every tactic and strategy at their disposal, using the terrain to their advantage as they fought to gain the upper hand. As the battle raged on, Marcus could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. With a final surge of determination, Marcus and his team pressed forward, driving the alien forces back with unwavering resolve. Victory seemed within their grasp, but as they reached the heart of the enemy's base, they were met with a sight that filled them with dread. Before them stood the alien commander, a towering figure clad in imposing armor, ready to defend their stronghold to the last. Marcus squared his shoulders, his grip tightening on his weapon as he prepared to face his greatest challenge yet. As the dust settled from the fierce battle at the lunar base, Marcus and his team regrouped, their minds racing with questions about the alien invaders. Amongst the wreckage, they uncovered strange technology and alien artifacts, each one a piece of the puzzle they were determined to solve. "We need to find out everything we can about these aliens," Marcus declared, his voice firm as he addressed his team. "We need to know their weaknesses, their motivations, anything that can give us an edge in this fight." His words were met with nods of agreement from his team, each member eager to uncover the truth behind the alien threat. Together, they set out to scour the base for any clues that could shed light on their mysterious adversaries. As they combed through the wreckage, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something important. It was then that he stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within the bowels of the base, its entrance concealed behind layers of alien technology. With a sense of trepidation, Marcus and his team ventured inside, their eyes widening in shock as they beheld what lay before them. Rows upon rows of pods filled the chamber, each one containing a humanoid figure suspended in stasis. "What in the world?" one of the team members muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. Marcus approached one of the pods, his heart pounding in his chest as he studied the figure inside. It was then that he realized the horrifying truth. The aliens they had been fighting were not aliens at all, but genetically engineered creatures created by a far more sinister force. "We've been fighting a war on two fronts," Marcus said grimly, his voice echoing through the chamber. "And it looks like we've just uncovered the true enemy." As the dawn broke over the barren landscape, the ragged silhouette of the alien mothership appeared on the horizon, looming ominously against the brightening sky. The air was thick with the electric tension of impending battle, and Captain Marcus Reynolds' heart raced as he and his team of elite snipers prepared for what could be their final mission. "We've come a long way, team," Marcus said, looking each member of his squad in the eye. "Today, we strike at the heart of their fleet. This is more than just another skirmish. It's our chance to turn the tide in this war. His team, a diverse group of the finest sharpshooters from around the globe, nodded in solemn agreement. They checked their weapons and gear, making final adjustments. Elena Vasquez, his second-in-command, approached him, her expression serious. "Marcus, we know the risks," she said, her voice steady. "We're ready to follow you into hell if that's what it takes." Marcus clapped her on the shoulder. "I know I can count on you, Elena. Let's make sure we all come back." The team gathered around the tactical display where the layout of the mothership was highlighted. Marcus pointed to a series of critical points on the ship's structure. "These are the reactors. Our intel suggests they're less guarded but critical to the ship's operations. We take these out and the ship goes down." Cheng Wei, the team's long-range specialist, studied the map intently. "The angles are tight," he observed. "We'll have only small windows to make our shots." "That's why you're here, Cheng," Marcus replied with a confident smile. "If anyone can make those shots, it's you." The plan was risky. The team would split into pairs, each tasked with taking out a reactor. Stealth was crucial. The element of surprise was their greatest weapon. As they neared the mothership, hidden by the terrain and the early morning shadows, the reality of their mission settled in. The quiet before the storm was palpable. Marcus paired up with Elena, and together they navigated through the rocky ground, moving closer to their target. The silence was occasionally broken by the distant hum of the alien ship's operations, a constant reminder of the threat looming overhead. They reached their vantage point, a small outcropping of rock that offered a clear line of sight to the reactor. Marcus set up his rifle, the familiar weight of the weapon grounding him as he peered through the scope. "2 guards on the entrance," Elena whispered, her eyes scanning through her binoculars. "I'll take them on your mark." "Wait for my shot," Marcus instructed. The crosshairs settled on the reactor's external panel, a critical junction he had memorized from the schematics. Taking a deep breath, he calmed his racing heart and squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed across the barren landscape, a sharp retort that signaled the beginning of their assault. As his target sparked and sizzled, Elena took out the guards with 2 precise shots. "Clear," she reported. One by one, they heard the distant reports of sniper rifles as their teammates engaged their targets. The operation was in full swing, each shot bringing them closer to victory or disaster. The mothership began to shudder and groan under the strain of the damaged reactors. Alarms blared in the distance, a cacophony of sound that heralded chaos among the alien ranks. "Time to move," Marcus said, packing up his rifle. They retraced their steps, moving swiftly back to the rendezvous point. As they regrouped with the rest of their team, the mothership's engines faltered, its lights flickering as it struggled to maintain power. With a final, ear-splitting groan, the ship began to descend, crashing into the desert sands in a colossal explosion of fire and debris. The team watched in silence, the impact of their actions sinking in. They had done it. They had turned the tide. Marcus turned to his team, pride swelling in his chest. "Let's go home," he said, the sunrise casting long shadows behind them as they walked away from the wreckage. The desert sands were still warm from the heat of battle as Captain Marcus Reynolds and his team trekked back to their extraction point. The alien mothership, now a smoldering ruin in the distance, marked a turning point in humanity's fight against the invaders. Exhausted yet exhilarated, the snipers moved in silence, each lost in their own thoughts about the night's events. Marcus glanced back at the wreckage, the smoke billowing into the early morning sky. He couldn't help but feel a mix of triumph and sorrow. This victory had come at a high cost. They had won, but the landscape around them was scarred, a stark reminder of the battle's ferocity. "Captain, we did it," Elena said, her voice cutting through the quiet. Her face was smeared with grime and sweat, but her eyes were bright with the victory's glow. "We did," Marcus replied, allowing himself a small smile. "But it's not over yet. This was a major blow, but the war goes on." As they reached the extraction point, a trio of armored vehicles crested the nearby hill, their engines humming a promise of departure from the battlefield. The team greeted the convoy with relieved cheers, welcoming the safety the armored transport offered. Once aboard, the snipers settled into their seats, the adrenaline of the fight slowly ebbing away, replaced by the fatigue of a long night's exertion. Marcus took a seat next to Cheng Wei, who was quietly cleaning his rifle. "You were outstanding out there," Marcus said to Cheng, who looked up with a nod of appreciation. "Just doing my part, Captain," Cheng replied. "We all did." The ride back to base was long and gave Marcus ample time to reflect. He thought about each member of his team, their bravery, and the sacrifices they had made. They were more than just soldiers. They were heroes who had risen in humanity's darkest hour. Upon their return to base, the team was met with a hero's welcome. Flags waved and cheers erupted as they disembarked. General Ramirez approached, his face stern but his eyes warm. "You've done your country and your planet proud," Ramirez said, shaking Marcus's hand firmly. "Thanks to your team, we have a fighting chance." Marcus felt a swell of pride but knew better than to let it go to his head. "Thank you, sir. We'll be ready for the next assignment." The celebrations continued around them, but Marcus's mind was already on the future. There were more battles to be fought, more strategies to devise. Victory today was sweet, but the war was far from over. That night, as Marcus lay in his bunk, the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. He knew that the days ahead would bring new challenges, but he also knew that his team was ready. They had faced the worst and emerged victorious. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. The sun rose over the base, casting long shadows and bathing the compound in golden light. Marcus stood at his window, watching the new day dawn. Today, they rested. Tomorrow, the fight would continue. But for now, Marcus allowed himself a moment of peace, watching the sunrise and feeling, for the first time in a long while, a cautious optimism about the days to come.